Okay, so this video is going to be on making the gameplay boundary, the out of bounds boundary that if you cross over you die. We're going to need one thing to start with, particularly we need to have a minimap texture already created, and we need to go to Asset Actions and export that as a TGA, let it export as a TGA, and I've already done this once before, in fact I've done this a few times, but anyway, so save it as your minimap texture outside somewhere. Yes. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to search for the actual boundary actor, which is not in the vanilla content. You'll find boundaries in there, but not what we're looking for. It's in the Squad C++ classes, and it is this one here called SQMapBoundary, and we need to just grab an instance of that and drop it in, and then we'll lift it up a bit because we want to be able to see it clearly wherever it's laid out over the landscape. And I'm going to go into top view because I find it a lot easier to visualize where I'm putting this thing in top view. So I have my little gameplay area here, and I'm going to put a big box around it as my boundary. You can do whatever shape you want, just depends on how elaborate you want to be with your spline. So here's our spline actor, and here is the next point. You need to select that next point, and then using the handles drag it out to wherever you want it. That looks pretty good. Then we need to create a new point by holding down the Alt button and then drag one of the handles. You can let go of the Alt button, and then we get a new point, and then we'll drag another one out. So hold Alt and drag a new one out. Now you can leave it with the built-in curves if you wish. That could be cool, but I'm going to go for a square one because I want a square one. So selecting any of the points basically will give you the options in here for the boundary, and we're looking at the XY boundary part, which is the actual points, and we need to change this type from curve to linear. Now it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Sometimes you have to change it to something else and then go to linear. So change all of those to linear for nice corners. Now I know that's not a very good box, but I'm not going to fret too much over it. So we now have our boundary. We can deselect that, and the reason why we have it above the landscape is so that it doesn't get clipped by any landscape, so it's still nice and white and we can see it. So what I need to do now is I need to take a screenshot of this view. So this square shape here, the lighter coloured area, is actually the extent of my map terrain, and it's also the extent of the play boundary. So that's handy. So what I need to do is I need a screenshot that I can see the edges of this so that I can use it later to clip it out and put it in as a layer in the image we're going to make. So I'm going to do a shift print screen, and then we're going to put that away for a bit, and we're going to open up GIMP or Photoshop. Doesn't matter which one you use, they're going to work basically the same. And I'm going to look for I know what I'm going to do. I've got to make a new one first because I've got a screenshot on the clipboard. It'll come up usually the right size, and then paste as new layer, and then I'm going to come over here and flatten the image to get rid of that background. I'm now going to come in here and get my selection tool, rectangle select, and I'm going to rectangle select this area to get it approximately where I want to be So I'm correctly selecting. It looks like it is. It's basically over the top of that line. This is a bit low, this one. Oops. Okay, so that's selected close enough. We're only using this to line it up with the minimap image so that I can then use this as a guide to make a mask over it. So I'm now going to go to image and crop to selection, and then I'm going to deselect that. I'm now going to open up the minimap image, which was, where did I put it again? Oops, no, it's in here. Come on. This one here, that one, hang on, preview's out of date, I thought, yeah, that's better. I'll open this one. This one's obviously much bigger. So I've got a nice image here, which has got a nice, we've got a fairly well-defined edge here. This is what you're going to need. You need well-defined edges, and you're also going to need to have your context buildings and such like that. It's going to have to be, they're going to have to be sharp so that you can see them when you overlay the other image. So I'm going to go out again, and I'm going to go to my screenshot image here, and I'm going to select all, and then I'm going to copy that, go back to this image, and then I'm going to paste as a new layer. As you can see, it's far too small, but that's fine. While I'm here, I'm going to drag that layer's opacity down so that we can see through it a wee bit. Now these two images, if I drag this out, these two images should be pretty close to the right size, but bear with me while I do this. I'm going to have to use, because the transform tool in this program is, it's good, but it's interesting too. So here we go. Oh, see, wrong one. Dull. Now, I'm going to go over a little bit, because I think I can. Okay, come on. Come on, stupid. Okay. Just going to bring it in a bit more. Now, once you think you've got it lined up, we need to go in and see how close things are. So, the screenshot I took and this minimap image will have all of this information in here, and we're going to see how close I happen to have got it by just playing with the opacity. And I think I've got it pretty close. Certainly close enough. In fact, some of the stuff's lining up almost exactly. So I'm going to leave it like that. That's pretty good. Alright, we'll just leave that. Okay, we've transformed. Now I can go back out. Where did my image go? Wait, what? What has it done to me? Oh, what did I do to it, more likely. So what we've got now is I've got the two images are, as you can see, pretty well lined up. So what I'm going to do now is I've got to make a box selection, and I'm going to do that rectangle select. Now this is not going to be perfect because this line is not straight, but it doesn't matter. Oh, I'm doing it on the wrong one, hang on. Select none. I need to be doing it on the gameplay minimap layer. So let's try that again. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to get this a bit better aligned. That's looking pretty good. That's not looking great, but you know what I mean. It's I could use a different tool to make myself a better aligned. I could align it better, but I'm not going to bother because in reality at this scale it's probably only a matter of a couple of meters on the ground difference. Now I'm going to invert the selection. So what I've done now is instead of selecting the inner area, I've now got all of the outside of that box selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn off my screenshotted layer, my guide, and I'm just going to go back to the minimap. And the simplest and easiest way of doing it is to just go up and change. Let's do it by we can do it by exposure, I suppose. Yeah, alright. Yeah, that looks shit. I'm going to go a step back and do that again. So I'm just going to do the brightness contrast. Yeah, okay, let's stick with that. Now, proof is when we unselect everything. So we have now got our gameplay area. We still have the entire minimap, but we've got our gameplay area in here. Now, the same thing can be said if you decide to make your minimap of your area. If you're using a large map and you're only using a very small portion of it, you can of course set up your minimap, your map corners to you'll set them up differently, and you'll just to take a chunk of that map out, and then you'll use exactly the same points of reference where your map corners are to give you a screenshot so that you can align it correctly with your minimap image. This is basically it. If you want to, you can also I'll go back to the selection, and I'm going to re-invert the selection so it's selecting the inside again, and I'm now going to stroke the selection. Where was that again? Well, what the hell, let's just go back to invert selection and select none, and let's just stroke that, make up a new path, and we'll stroke that first. And stroke the path with a, I don't know, 5-6 pixel solid color, and we need to select color first because I haven't done that yet. Let's make it red-ish. And stroke. There we go. Oh, it's dotted. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Alright, so we now have a map boundary, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete this layer. We don't want that anymore, and we're going to overwrite or re-export as a TGA, but I'm just going to overwrite. Now we go back into the editor and we can re-import our minimap image, re-import with a new file, and where did it put it? Where did I put it? More likely. Oh God, stop moving around. And there we go. We now have our new minimap image. I'm going to save all that. And then we'll go in and we will test it. Okay, one thing I forgot to do was actually go and check the settings for the boundary. So going to this settings for the boundary, and we need to SQMapBoundary settings. I don't remember what's in those. Where is it? Class kill times. Okay, so ground vehicles and helicopters have different kill times, obviously, because helicopters may have trouble getting out of that death zone quick enough. The default kill time is 7 seconds for a person. And we need to generate a boundary mask. So we're going to do that as well. That spline component is this spline component. It is itself. There's a check delay time, so it's half a second before it checks each time. Floor and ceiling height are set to infinity, so again, doesn't matter where underneath or above the map you actually place this thing. It's not going to matter how high or low it is. So also going to create the boundary mask. I'm just going to, because I can't remember how this was done, I'm just going to go back into my folder. Hopefully it's going to dump it in here. Let's go. This may take a minute or two. I believe it used to take a while. And there we go, and that did take quite a while. So don't be concerned if it sits there frozen for a while. It looks just plain square on here, but it's what they always look like. Now, I don't know where I put it, so I'm going to find it and put it in the layer. Okay. It's probably not a bad idea to have these stored in layers, but for this particular map, it's my testing map, so I'm going to leave it in here. If we open this up, you'll see that it's basically a square, but you can see it's got that little change in here where this corner here, because I didn't have that edge quite straight, so it's got this kind of non-straight edge on here, but that's fine. So now that we've done the boundary mask, we've got our boundary mask, we've got our modified minimap, now we can go on, see if it works. Alright, you can see already from my map that it's actually working. Something blew up. So now what I've got to do is I'm going to go down there. Oh, those things died because they're supposed to. I'm going to just go down the road and see what happens. About to cross over it now. Let's see if it kills me. Oh! And it did. That was loud. So I'm not quite sure why. It took more than 7 seconds to kill me after I got out of the vehicle, but it worked. So there you go. That's how you make the boundary and get it to work. Done. Hope it helps.